Hey loves, welcome back. I'm Taylor Schuler. This is where you'll get your horoscopes on thriving with astrology and more. Today we'll talk about the full moon in Pisces and all the days up until the third quarter moon in Gemini, which will be from September 10th to the 16th. But first, we're going to start with this Mercury retrograde that's happening right now. Today is the 9th, so actually I lied. We'll start with September 9th. But anyway, September 9th, we've got this Mercury stationing retrograde in Libra. I hinted about this last week. I talked about it a bit on the Girl in the Galaxy podcast with Kate Heinricher and Mallory Hasty. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied. It was so much fun. So definitely check that out. I will link it here somewhere or also at the end of the podcast if you haven't checked it out. It's the forecast for September. It was a lot of fun with a lot of great information. So you might hear that this Mercury retrograde is all about diplomacy. And first of all, I just want to start by saying I'm not the one who's going to be scary about Mercury retrograde. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to be scary. We're here to thrive and make the world a better place, right? So how can we do that if we're being afraid of stuff all the time? So that this is like a no fear Mercury retrograde approach that we got going on. So anyway, you might hear that this Mercury retrograde is all about diplomacy. And let me tell you, diplomacy is hard. It is hard to bite your tongue, and it's hard to say the thing that you think someone wants to hear. But what we don't think about all the time when we think about diplomacy is sovereignty. What about sovereignty? What about knowing about your own power, your own needs, your own authenticity, and about looking someone in the eye and looking at yourself in the mirror and then telling them what they need to hear, or knowing what you need to know and what you need to say about yourself and your own truth, and then sharing that appropriately. So what about sovereignty? What about who you are and what you need? What about communicating from a place of authenticity, love, care, and nonviolence? What about thinking with Mercury retrograde? Why don't we think about paying attention during Mercury retrograde? And like I said, let's not put fear into this, because you know what happens during Mercury retrogrades? Apple announces and launches their new product lines. I mean, I know it happened right before the retrograde, but it happened in what we call the station period, where Mercury is it's slowing down, and it's so slow that it's just about that same kind of energy. And sometimes you can feel it even more intensely than during the retrograde, during those couple of days of the station where Mercury's at that degree where it stops, turns around, as we say, and goes backwards. So Apple announces and launches their new product lines. They're a pretty successful global corporation. And you know what I did today with joy? I bought a new phone. Yes, I did. I bought the new phone. I'm not the person that is always the early adopter and like does the thing, but I had my phone about 4 years and I'm excited. And 14 is my favorite number. And I've just been wanting this and I was really excited. So yeah, I did the thing. I did the thing, and I was happy to do it. Like I said, with joy. I was excited. I was looking forward to it. I was focused on it because Mercury can pull our focus to things. It can say, hey, did you know this was going on? Why don't you pay attention? Why don't you think about this thing? Why don't you, put your energy here? And I did. So do things that make you happy. And you know why Mercury can make us feel like this? It can make us feel like this because it's closer to Earth. It's like when you're on a train and then like another train is on the tracks next to you, like it kind of like comes in from an angle and then it comes in and it's on the tracks next to you. I grew up in New York City, so I'd always be on the 6 train, and there was the local and the express, and the express would go by. I couldn't get on the express because I grew up on 28th Street. 28th Street is a local station. So this express train would be going by, and inevitably I'd be on the slower train because the local has to stop. But every once in a while, that express train, if maybe I hopped over at 34th Street and actually got on the express looking at the local, when that local train stops and you're on the express and you're going fast, it looks like the local is going slower when it slows down to stop at that station, but it's not. It's not slowing down. It's not going backwards. You're both going forwards. You're going in the same direction. It's just that you're going a lot faster, right? You can hear that other train louder because it's closer. It's like that magnetic energy that you get when someone's close to you and in your space. It makes you feel things, you know? And so, like, for me with the phone, I got excited. Did I get carried away? I don't know, maybe, but who cares? Like, live life. And also, during this Mercury retrograde, do hard things. Say the thing, state your needs, tell people that you appreciate them and what you appreciate about them. Instead of being critical, you know, we've got all this gentle parenting and parenting techniques on social media. I think it's fabulous. I'm not a parent myself yet, or that I'm, you know, whatever, I'm not. And you know, we've got these techniques out there. I lost my train of thought. Very Mercury retrograde. Um, we've got these techniques out there, and some of them are about like how to discourage bad behavior, which is, you know, what you think about with children, disciplining them, and how to encourage good behavior. And we can encourage good behavior sometimes by just like pointing out the good things that people do instead of being so critical about them. People will then do more of that. You know, we are like the children that we were. We respond in very similar manners. So use that critical lens to be like, hey, what's that thing that I really like that they do? And when they do that thing, they don't do that other thing, or maybe it gets them so excited, it kind of crosses out the fact that that's a little irritating or annoying or whatever. So, and also, like, people will start to read between the lines if you give them that kind of feedback about what they should fix. And if they don't fix it, it's up to them, but they'll love and appreciate you more for your kindness and generosity of spirit than for being harsh and critical with them. And we can do that with ourselves too, right? We can say, hey, this is what I really love about myself. And this is what I'm like, you know, and then you read between your own lines and do what you got to do. And sometimes when we keep doing the things that we love, like the things that aren't so good for us or bad habits or things kind of fall away. So appreciate yourself, appreciate people around you, look for the good, and then say it out loud. And I say this because Mercury's going to retrograde back into Virgo, where it's a bit happier and more comfortable than it is in Libra, which is about balance and where there's more people-pleasing vibes. But we don't do people-pleasing, right? I mean, it's one thing to respect people and honor them and love them, but we're not going to be compromising ourselves for someone else's comfort. That's not where we're at in 2022. So Mercury in Virgo can be about like being really happy winning arguments, even because it's so right. Like, it's like, I know I'm right. And it forgets to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I think I said that right. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So just because you're right, just because you pointed out something, doesn't mean that you should say it, doesn't mean that, you know, you need to say it that way, in the way that you're thinking of it. You can find a way to share feedback in a way that will be received by the person and be helpful, you know? So knowing that what you say is helpful and then being courageous to actually make a difference, to make things better by getting feedback from other people and by getting your hands dirty. So lean into discernment, get the most generous interpretation. Remember, Mercury is going to be in charge of Mars, which is in Gemini during this time. And so we're going to start to feel the slowdown that the Mars retrograde is going to bring us. So if you need to take it easy and enjoy the ride, you feel your energy starting to kind of shift, just enjoy the ride, or say what you need to say, do the thing you need to do, and just be easy, go with the flow. So we have then, it's going to be, I guess, I'm on Pacific time right now. So, and it's happening about 2:58 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday, September 10th. We've got the full moon in Pisces. So we've got Mercury stationing retrograde, meaning communication is going to come up. Like, we're going to have more focus on what we say. We're going to want to say the thing. We'll blurt out the thing, or we'll be like, wait, should I say the thing? And then think about and perseverate on it. And it's gonna feel like a lot because we've got this full moon in Pisces. You know, Do you know like what makes the world a better place? I think vulnerability makes the world a better place. Compassion makes the world a better place. And compassion is a Pisces key word. When I think of compassion, I think of like the co and then the passion. So like co is together. And then when I think of passion, I think of the deep feeling from the heart and the soul that you get. Turns out compassion comes from the Latin word pati, P-A-T-I. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I don't think we know how to pronounce Latin. Maybe someone does. You can let me know. I'd love to hear what it sounded like. That sounds cool. Anyway, that word pati means suffering. So the origins of the word compassion mean to suffer with another person, like co-suffering with another person. And if being vulnerable isn't suffering with and for someone else, I do not know what is. You've got to be vulnerable and take a chance, even when you are suffering, even if it feels like suffering, because the freedom and liberation on the other side of that are totally worth the pain and worth the risk. We have to risk our own sense of comfort and risk rejection. We have to stop people pleasing for that other person that we don't want to hurt because, because living our lives is not something that in itself hurts another person. No, I'll say that again. Living your life on your own, you're not affecting other people. Like how you live your life independently, you're not actually doing something to someone else that it doesn't hurt another person to live your life. Us moving on is not something that hurts another person. Us letting go, full moon is about letting go. It's about releasing. It's about the fullness of a thing. And then the moon loses its light and it's like, okay, it's done. The flower has blossomed. What is that fruit? What is the fruit of the things that have been happening? We can look at the moon cycle for every 9 months. So back in the first week of March of 2021, we had a new moon in Pisces. And then 9 months later in Sagittarius season, we had a first quarter moon, and that would have been around the second week of December. We had a first quarter moon in Pisces. And now we're having this full moon, which is the next stage. 9 months later, 9 months from December is now. So what's the story there? What did you start around end of February, early March, mid-March of 2021? What did you do early mid-December 2021? That is that kind of continues that story. And then what's happening now, that's the fullness, that's the letting go, that's the blossom, that's the fruit, that's the yes here. For me, I remember in March of 2021, I think I've got this right. I went to go visit my folks in Florida and I was like, I think I want to move to Florida. And then by December, I was in Florida and things started changing. And I was like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be in Florida. And now I'm in Arizona and I'm like, yes, I'm supposed to be in Arizona. It's like you explore a thing, you try the thing, and now here's the fullness and the yes and the release and the of the thing. So it's going to be different for everyone. If you want to talk about where this is happening in your chart, we can do that. But that was a bit of a tangent. Back to what I was saying before. We have to risk our own sense of comfort and rejection. We have to stop people pleasing for that other person that we don't want to hurt, because living our lives is not something that in itself hurts another person. And us moving on is not something that hurts that person. I mean, it might, but do it with love. Do it with love for yourself, love for them. Be brave, be courageous. It might hurt you both or it might not, but you got to rip the Band-Aid at some point. Otherwise, you're just bottling up a whole lot of feelings that turn to poison instead of moving towards the cathartic release a full moon allows, that allows for greater love to enter our lives. So be discerning, be respectful and kind when you do things, but don't ever stop living your life for another person. Who are you to steal your own joy? And who is our idea of what other people think or will think to steal our joy and our dreams? Love is one of the most radical things that we can do to make the world a better place. And it's terrifying. It's really scary, which is why, we've got this fear around the Mercury retrograde. Some people feel that way. And it's like, I don't want to say it's not necessary because it's natural and it's normal to have fear and to be afraid, but we really have to think about how much we're allowing into our lives. And then knowing that sometimes that feeling, we just need to regulate our nervous system and say, like, I'm afraid because I haven't done it before and I'm feeling kind of insecure about it, but I'm going to take a risk. It's a responsible risk. I don't want to say it's calculated. It might be because it's Virgo season, but putting yourself out there is totally a risk. And love is one of the most radical things we can do to make the world a better place because there is so much suffering. There is such a deep need for compassion. I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, which is all about love and forgiveness, which is really just love for the self and love for others. It means not being so critical. It means giving the most generous interpretation of something that happened and not thinking that there's malintent and maliciousness everywhere we look and that we have to get back at something. It's like, let's just cool our jets and assume maybe that person was hurting or maybe I was hurting, and dare I say, like, laugh about it, like, when you can, or just let it go, because we do need more love in the world. But in terms of an activist point of view, we have to be vulnerable for a couple of reasons. One, we are vulnerable whether we like it or not in terms of the system and how it works, in terms of the greater forces out there. And two, because if we don't risk personal vulnerability with one another, how do we develop the spine to face greater challenges? How do we know who really has our back? How do we know what we really stand for? How do we know who we are? How do we know what we're willing to sacrifice? How do we achieve our dreams? How do we build community to make the world a better place? So many communities have these artificial ways of breaking people down to build them back up, which can kind of feel like this Virgo energy of like, I'm being critical and I see what needs fixing and I'm going to break you down because I can. I can say the thing if I don't think carefully, the thing that can cut, the thing that can really hurt, that eventually needs healing. And so we have these artificial ways of breaking people down to build them back up, but there are so many plain, simple ways to do this for real and authentically, which is just showing up as you are and speaking your truth and embracing others who do the same. So this full moon, feel the feelings, say the thing, ask the question, take the risk, do the thing, do it with love, dream the dream, do it with compassion, listen with sympathy and love, and then go get lost in some music and dance and make a delicious chocolate truffle and indulge in it because it's the freaking weekend, baby, and you deserve it. All right. So then on Sunday, we've got the Sun trine Uranus, and that would be September the 11th. The Sun trine Uranus is about creative inspiration flowing. In permaculture, the second principle is to catch and store energy. And we're reminded of this aphorism, make hay while the sun shines. It's a weekend in most parts of the world, so go out and have a good time. Take photos, take a notebook, make sure your phone has a battery to capture a video or a voice recording memo to get all the good ideas and energy. If some random opportunity comes your way, take it. If some person who's really different from you comes along, or someone you weren't expecting, or something's a little off, like, go talk to the person, have a conversation. You never know what's going to happen. This is good energy for that, for like randomness, for differentness, for ideas, for inspiration. The Sun in Virgo is about passing on knowledge through generations in one of its highest forms. And Uranus in Taurus is about radically changing how we care for the earth. So there is an invitation here to go out, pick some flowers or harvest. And, do people have pumpkins yet? I don't know. If you have pumpkins and you're into the fall thing, you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I feel like that would be super fun, but I don't know if these places are, they probably are because all these holidays are happening too soon, in my opinion. But you know, go out and harvest. Like maybe this is the last sort of like harvest of your garden that you've got, or maybe you already did that and you've got a whole store of walnuts and apples and things and or zucchinis, and you need to like do something. You need to store them somehow. You need to like pickle the cucumbers uh and whatnot. So there's this invitation to go out, pick some stuff, think about how to share the harvest, or in the southern hemisphere, think about what seeds you're starting and what you want to plant. What do you want to do differently? Like you want to do like another variety that you've never done before, that could be super fun. And how can you do it differently? This can also be when we are catching and storing energy, sometimes there's too much of a good thing. So don't think you need to like buy fertilizer. Think of how to turn the harvest that you can't store or share into compost. You have everything that you need already. So can you use this either literally or figuratively as an opportunity to teach someone a skill or share a tip? Have you wanted to start a class or something like this, a garden or a project of some sort? I think it's a great time to brainstorm, get those ideas out, lay out your curriculum, go volunteer at the food pantry or host a block party or donate to the food pantry. I mean, check the labels first. Don't, be giving people stuff you can that's going to give them botulism. That is a real thing. You need to learn how to pack your food. So I'm not trying to be scary, but it's true. Feed people and they will learn. All right. So then on September 16th, we've got Venus square Mars. So Venus is how we relate to people, and Mars is how we take action on what we desire. I should also say the 16th is a Friday, which is Venus's day. So definitely a lot of Venus energy. We're gonna get some good energy here that will invite us to do something about it. How do we need to take action to change how we relate is one question to think about. How do we take action on what we value? How can we value the men in our lives? How can we take action to value the women in our lives, or any gendered person or any life form that you appreciate? I mean, even like your pets too, like if they're important for you and you value them, or there's something else you value, how can you take action to appreciate that? I was actually just thinking about the Kali Yuga and how we're in this patriarchal stage of our development, and how important it is to share knowledge that will help usher us into the golden matriarchal age, which is still 400 years away. It could be longer, who knows? But what is time anyway? So that's a little bit of a random thought. But anyway, back to Venus and Mars. Venus is making what's called a Dexter aspect to Mars. It means it's overt, it's out there. You can see it coming. It's in the light of day. It's genuine. It's authentic. It's like Venus coming to Mars, knocking on his door and saying, hey, you, I'm your values. I'm what you appreciate. I'm who you like to be around. I'm how you like to be around other people. And Mars is where you're at, still what you desire. Like, and am I Venus what you desire? Do you like how you're doing what you're doing? Do you like how you're living your life? Do you desire what you do? Do you desire what you have? And maybe like, you do you and I'll do me. And then let's go out there hand in hand and kick behind and take names. So I hate to bring up Brangelina, but I can't help but think of this scene from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they're kind of back to back, swirling in circles, like fighting their enemies. This is the high form of this energy. Well, not really. I guess violence is kind of like low vibe, but maybe fun because it's a movie. Not that we don't need to be violent, we don't, but let's think like emotionally and figuratively. Can y'all like get out in the garden and whack some weeds together? Can y'all reorganize the library alphabetically and donate some books to your local library? Back to back in your room together. Like, can y'all clean out the garage and have a garage sale? Do your fall spring cleaning before you buy all the pumpkins and all the spices? Can y'all go to therapy maybe and be real for a minute and then enjoy the afterglow? And can we all talk about money and what gets us heated? Can we just bring it out in the open? So now I said all of that about this Venus square Mars, but it's going to be colored by a few things with the sun opposite Neptune later the same day. It's going to be colored by idealism. It's going to be colored by the need to be in the moment. It's going to be colored by, I just need a break. Like, this is good spa time. Like, why don't we go get a massage together? Why don't we go sit by the pool? Why don't we go for a walk, be by the creek, like listen to some water, take a long shower, bubble bath, Netflix and chill, tune out to some whatever movie or Outlander. Like, let's go back to the past, Mercury retrograde, be romantic about it with these Neptune vibes. And yeah, but you can also do that on a personal level, but you can also do it on a collective level. So on a personal level, you might not have all the clarity and all the energy to be cleaning and organizing, because sometimes Neptune can slow us down, especially Mercury retrograde and Mars with this whole situation. But you might have enough energy to pack a picnic and sit in the park and make it look pretty, and then be like, hey, let's be here now. It's all water under the bridge. But I really encourage you to do something to invite in the energy of what the ideal in your life will look like, and then be about it, feel it, and then try to talk about it if you can. Definitely go out in nature, appreciate nature, bring a book, knit something, do something with your hands, and also just go with the flow. Remember that rest is productive. So that's all we've got. I'll be back next time to start with the third quarter moon in Gemini. It'll be at 24 degrees, 59 minutes of Gemini, which is where the degree that Mars will station at when it stations direct on January 13th. I'm sorry, that's not true. It's where it will station retrograde on October 30th. And yeah, and then I think it'll go past that eventually. So forget about January 13th. I don't know why I'm thinking that. Probably Mercury retrograde. Anyway, thanks for being here. Let me know in the comments below what you think. How are you changing the world and making the world a better place? How did this help you? Lots of love. See you next time. Bye, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to find more heart-centered, forward-thinking folks just like you. Don't forget to take a screenshot, share it in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Taylor Schuler Astrology. If you're interested in an astrology consultation with me, you can book online at my website, taylorschuler.com. If you like my digs and you're looking for short-term furnished rentals because you're a digital nomad like me, or just because, don't forget to use the link in the show notes or code Taylor_C6I at hellolanding.com for $250 off your rental. See you next week. Bye.